Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be learning about the Petrov defense. You can see we've got a position on the board, but it actually starts all the way back here, where after e4, e5, knight to f3, we get knight to f6, mirror image of what white has done. And it leaves white with a few options. A reminder, all the moves will be in the description down below. Before we start, the Petrov, for some reason, has a reputation of being quite drawish and boring. It's very popular, and this is not always the case, and we're going to see why in a little bit. So the main line is knight takes e4, and then it is a d6. So d6, knight to f3, knight takes e4, d4, and you want to keep the knight in the center, so we play d5 securing it, bishop to d3, knight to c6, short castles, something like bishop to e7 and c4, trying to undermine the knight, but that allows knight to b4, bishop to e2, short castles, knight to c3, and then either bishop to f5, probably bishop to f5 then. After a3, we get knight takes c6, bc6, and knight to c6, what you've seen on the board. And this is the typical position that you can get. White has a nice solid center, but black has gotten their pieces out and is in no real danger. That is the big thing. White can play various queen to b3s, they can get the bishop out, and it's a relatively solid position without too much drama. But if black wants drama, then they have some options. After knight takes e5, you can play knight to c6, the Stafford Gambit. Now, let it be known, it is plus 1.5 for white. So if white plays properly, they are going to have a huge advantage. And the main idea of this is that rather than try and recover the pawn, black invites white to trade knights, because after here, black's big plan is to take like this and open up the queen. The bishops are now open. So here you would get d3, bishop to c5, bishop to e2, and then something like h5, a combination of h5, knight to g4. Or sometimes queen to d4, but that's not always the best move. So probably like h5. And this is the main idea. You can go like this to try and get a bit of a fishing pole and open up. The queen can drop in either one of these two ways. And it's a very interesting and dynamic position. Eric Rosen uses this a lot on streams. It hasn't been played much in classical games because it is good for white. But in a blitz game, this is a fantastic weapon for the black pieces. Anyway, if we go back to d6, uh, there is one other variation here. After d takes c6, oh, there was bishop to c5, or there was bishop to e6. This is the way the engine prefers. This is the main engine line with developing the bishops for both sides and opposite side castling. So this is the engine playing it how it would, at least on my depth, which is about 14, so not the greatest. I'm sure if you look at this with a stronger engine, it might think slightly different. But this is a position you can get, and it's still dynamic for black. White is still better because they're up a pawn. This is still from the Stafford Gambit, if you're slightly confused. Sorry for jumping around. But you get this nice kingside attack for black, and your structure on the queen side is relatively solid. It's going to take white a little bit to defend against that, but white can play various like f4s, f5s to try and lock out this bishop, and they'll just kind of defend this attack rather than attack themselves probably. Anyway, we go to d6, but there is another line here. I say another line, another variation, and that is the mirror image capture. Now, if you're black, you need to know 100% what you're doing, because otherwise queen e2 almost wins on the spot. Now, I'm going to tell you now, this has been played by good players. The top game in the database is from December of 2023, so a recent game between Maxim Vachier-Lagrave and Hikaru Nakamura. So this can be played, as my headphone keeps whacking my other microphone that's not working. It keeps sounds like I'm talking through static. So this is the domino, or it's not domino, it's like the domino or dynamo variation. What you need to know is queen to e7, queen takes e4, d6, d4, d takes e5, d takes e5, knight to c6, and then knight to c3 or bishop to b5 are both fine. Knight to c3 probably. Queen takes e5, queen takes e5 check, and knight takes e5. And you get to this kind of endgame position. Not too dissimilar to like a Berlin endgame, but both sides can still castle. So, bishop c3, short castles, something like that. There is, of course, you would have seen, I don't want to lose the pawn. I'd like to keep this pawn. Can I play bishop to b5? Yes, you can. But bishop to d7 comes in. Now you play knight to c3. Long castles. Bishop to f4, still holding onto the pawn, but g5. Bishop to g3. a6. Bishop drops back to c4. Bishop to e6. And then here, this is now deep in the engine. There's this tactic bishop takes a6. Obviously, if you takes, you take the knight. So the best move is queen to c5. And this is still very much level. You drop the bishop back to d3, and now you've played 14 moves of theory in the Petrov defense. That'll win you like a pub quiz. But there's like 5 games in this engine line. But bishop to b5 is something you can know about. Bishop d7 obviously breaks the pin and allows capture, so you've got to consistently try and hold on to this pawn. And it might be more trouble than it's worth. So it's probably better to just explore the line with knight takes e5, and you trade the queens and everything. Sorry, my computer's breaking now. But that's pretty much the Petrov, ladies and gentlemen. You can see it can be a very serious opening. I don't want to ever describe a chess opening as a serious opening, but it's a very solid option for black. But of course, the knight doesn't have to take on e5 or e4. There is another line that we can look at when Lichess starts working again. So for now, we'll probably break this, and I'll see you in the video.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Yes, so going back to this original position, you do not have to take in the center of the board. What you can do is play this move d4. And this invites black to choose between e takes d4 or knight takes e4. The main idea if black takes is to play e5. And then you'll get something knight to e4, queen takes d4, d5, then en passant, and knight takes d6. And this is kind of the position you get. Your queen's a bit advanced, but you're going to get your knight out. It might get kicked back, which is fine. You bring your bishops out, and this is kind of how you've transformed the position, and you've traded effectively both center pawns. There is another way to do this. Instead of taking, obviously, you can just be like, well, I'm just going to grab this in the center of the board. That's fine. Bishop to d3 attack the knight, d5, and now knight takes e5. Knight to d7, we trade on d7, the bishop captures back, and we short castles. And this doesn't look too dissimilar to some of our mainline positions. You've got your knight here. The only thing is your knight on f3 is gone, but you can still play c4, trying to undermine this. You get rook e1, you get your bishop out, you get your knight to c3, and it's a typical Petrov position. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to end this video by telling you this now. There is another move here that some of you will play. I condemn it. Please, I've shown you so many good options. Please, 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 ladies and gentlemen, do not play d3. It's not a bad move, but it's not in the spirit of chess, I don't think. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I hope you had a good day.